Hello everyone and welcome to the Rift. Today we have a bunch of new cards. That's right, it's reveal season and we are getting a ton of new cards to look at and to play with. There's a lot to talk about today, so let's just jump right into it. But first, if you want to stay up to date with card reveals, then you'd better make sure to subscribe. And if you're enjoying the content, then make sure to like this video. And if you want to start playing Riftbound right now, then you can, using the resources provided in the video description. Alright, there are quite a few cards that were released today. I think there's 10 in total, but 2 of them I've already talked about in my exclusive reveal video, and 2 of them have already been seen before, so really just 6 new cards to talk about today. If you haven't seen previous videos where I talk about these cards, I recommend doing so, but I'll briefly state what I think about these. Let's start with Heimerdinger. This card really just isn't seeing play right now. It just needs some better things to synergize with its ability. And until we get those, this card just really doesn't do much. Caitlyn is a pretty good card, but not right now. It's pretty good going second in Yasuo, but going first, you really don't want to draw this card. And other green decks kind of function more like control decks, and this is really a mid-range card, so they don't really play it. It can be decent in combination with pump spells to make it have more might, so it deals more damage with its ability. It's definitely not a bad card, and probably will see play at some point, but perhaps now is not the time for it. Ekko. Okay, I think this card is actually pretty great. It essentially is just a strictly better version of Blazing Scorcher, but it does cost 1 more power. Its effect is definitely worth it though, I'd say. I rate this card very highly, even though it's not really playable right now. Blue as a color just doesn't have many cards. It certainly doesn't have enough to utilize the death knell effect that this card has. Ideally, the way I envisioned this card being played is as essentially like a 5 damage removal spell. You just accelerate him out and smack something for 5, and then during your opponent's turn, if they kill him, you just ready all of your runes so you can react with a bunch of spells now, which blue is apparently supposed to be good at doing. We just really don't have enough spells to do that yet. In a control deck that wants to run a ton of reactive spells and a ton of removal, I think this card's excellent. It functions as a unit as well, just normally, so you can just score points and have board presence. Something interesting to know is that when he dies, he readies all of your runes, so if you're at a bunch of runes, you can potentially get a ton of energy to really pop off during a turn. I don't really know how practical that's gonna be. We can't really do that right now, at least not effectively. I think blue as a color is just not very good right now because we don't have many cards for it, but I'm assuming that'll change and the color will get a lot better, and if it does and it leans more heavily into a control focused gameplay pattern, then yeah, this card's great. Dangerous Duo. I think this card is okay. It's another cheap-ish Legion payoff. I don't really think Darius needs more Legion payoffs. He has quite a few. I think he needs more enablers, specifically good cheap units at 2 energy and less, and maybe some spells that draw cards as well, although I don't know if red is really gonna get that. It seems like the color just doesn't really draw that much. So as a Legion payoff, I think it's fine. Maybe you can play this card in your side deck or in even your main deck. If you need the deck to be more aggressive, you can side deck out some of your high cost guys, some of your top end units, and side this in to play more aggressively in matchups. That could be pretty decent. Overall, I think this card's solid. I wouldn't rate it too highly. I wouldn't rate it too lowly. It just is a good card. It doesn't really do anything too crazy. Block. I think this card is pretty good in a strategy that just wants to hold battlefields. Because if you're on a battlefield, you can play this for its hidden and just have 3 more might and tank as well. That isn't as relevant as the 3 might, but it's nice when it comes up. I don't think you're ever really playing this as an action for 2 energy. That just seems like a pretty bad rate. For 2 energy, you have Discipline, which just gives 2 might, 1 less than 3, but it also draws a card card, so I'd say it's just a strictly better card than this if you're just playing it as an action. So if you don't plan on holding battlefields and playing this as a hidden, I just wouldn't play this card. But if you are planning to do that, then that's a pretty good card for that strategy. Herald of Scales and Arena Bar you can go and watch my other videos for, but overall I think these cards are pretty decent. They have a lot of uses. Cleave, I think this spell is okay. Darius really doesn't need cards that are cheap that just get thrown away. If you're playing a bunch of cards like this in your deck, Darius is just gonna run out of cards, which currently isn't really a problem for him since he does have ways of replenishing his hand, and he doesn't have to play that aggressively and has some good top-end big units that he can play as well. But I don't really see this card fixing any problems. Maybe in a matchup where you need to punch really hard, this card could be good in your sideboard, but other than that, I really don't see this card getting much play right now. Mushroom Pouch. I think this is a pretty interesting card. It definitely helps Timo with what he wants to do. In some matchups, I'd say this card is very good. In slower games, as the game goes longer, this card is going to be great. But in matchups where you just can't hold battlefields with extra face down cards on them, this card basically just doesn't do anything. So maybe it's a main deck card, maybe it's a side deck card. It really depends on what the meta looks like. I think this card definitely has potential to be very good, but it's going to take a specific meta to do it in. Sometimes this card can essentially just read as 2 energy gear, do nothing. So you have to keep the format and your matchups in mind when you're putting this card in your deck and where you're putting it. Yellow Darius. I think this might be the best card that we got revealed today. This card is quite good. It's very similar to the red Darius that we already have. 6 energy and a power for 6 is a standard rate, so that's decent. He can ready himself when you proc Legion. When you play him, that's very good. It's comparable to the other Darius, it just works slightly differently, but functionally that's the same effect as the other one, except you can't do it again on future turns, so I'd say it's a little bit worse. But the second effect is very good. Giving +1 to everything else with him is very strong. If you can flood the board with a bunch of tokens, even more so than we already can, then that's extremely good. Red Darius costs 5 and a power for 5 might, and he gets +2 might, so he's essentially 5 for 7, being 2 might over the standard rate. This yellow Darius takes 2 units to be attacking with him to also be 2 might over the standard rate. Technically, he's not buffing himself, but he's providing extra might in other ways. So by himself, I think he's a little bit worse than Red Darius. Red Darius is a little bit more self-sufficient, but in terms of synergy and ceiling, this card is a lot better. So it really just depends what kind of deck you're going for. If you're playing a more go-wide strategy with a bunch of tokens, this guy is definitely your man. And if you're playing a more mid-range, a more standard game where maybe you only have a few units, I think Red Darius is going to be better. But overall, they're both great cards. This card is definitely excellent and will probably see play. If not right now, then definitely at some point. Alright, that's all we have for today. I'll be posting a ton more videos on card reveals in the future, as well as live streaming gameplay and my live reactions to new cards, all throughout the course of reveal season. So if you want to keep up to date with new card reveals, then you'd better hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you want to start playing Riftbound, you can do so right now with the links in the video description. Alright, that's about all I wanted to say today. Take care.